Greetings, real Arrow fans. Well, it's time to look at the penultimate season. Like the penultimate episode of Arrow season 6, which is The Ties That Bind. The episode begins with William getting breakfast ready for Oliver and Felicity. Oliver sees Felicity's agitated with something, and when he asks her what's happening, she covers his wrist as that Diaz is still out in the city while they're inside scrambling eggs. John and Lila are at the specialist. The specialist covers that Diggle's nerves in his arm have clearly recuperated with no longer requirement for Felicity's tech in bed. Renee and Scar are viewing a hockey coordinate. Dinah approaches the criminal in the back street. She fires, thrashing him, requesting more data on Ricardo Diaz. The queens are plunking down to eat when Oliver's telephone begins going off. It's an instant message from Anatoly advising him to get out of his loft right away. At the point when Oliver pivots, he sees three shooters canceling from the rooftop, and they begin shooting through the windows into the condo. Felicity and William run and stow away while Oliver deals with the shooters. Oliver cautions the entirety of the previous individuals from Team Arrow about Diaz following them. We see a montage of shooters assaulting Curtis and his sweetheart, Renee and his little girl, and John and Lila in the clinic. Oliver reveals to William that he's setting him and Felicity into defensive authority with Argus. Felicity reveals to Oliver that she is remaining behind to assist Oliver with confronting Diaz. At Helix, Oliver meets with Renee, Dinah, and Felicity. When inquired as to why they're meeting at Helix, Felicity shows him a video stream of Diaz's men crushing the first Arrow shelter. Diggle and Lila show up and say they have a dugout set up in Colorado. Diaz's men light the Arrow dugout ablaze. Curtis shows up to tell the remainder of the group that his sweetheart was shot, yet says he'll make it. After a motivational speech from Oliver, the gathering begins conceptualizing ways on the most proficient method to stop Diaz. Oliver discovers Anatoly to talk about Diaz's base of activities. Anatoly says he'll give her information about Diaz's office. Anatoly discovers Diaz at the Quadrant HQ. He tells Les that the Quadrant HQ isn't secure and suggests exchanging offices. Anatoly and Diaz are riding along in a reinforced vehicle when they're halted by development laborers. It's a snare set up by Team Arrow. Diaz's men begin battling with Team Arrow when the degenerate cops appear and separate the battle. Diaz himself begins battling with Curtis, and Longman wounding him in the midsection. Group Arrow makes it back to Helix. They cover Curtis as resting Argus care. Lila makes reference to that the cops won't turn down a gathering for the top of a government organization and recommends she meet with the cops. Diaz and Anatoly show up at the police headquarters. The two go into an office and Diaz tosses Anatoly in a bad spot, blaming him for revealing to Team Arrow they were moving areas. Anatoly persuades Diaz that Lydia Casamento warned Team Arrow. Oliver makes an effort not to go into the field with Lila. She's resolved she's going. Felicity and Lila go to the police headquarters with the goal that they can move a few documents off of the police PCs. Lila goes inside to converse with Diaz, and when the cops turn their back, she finds the gadget on one of the PCs. The documents begin moving, however, Diaz is warned by his staff programmer. Diaz and the cops encompass Lila, however, Oliver and Diggle enter the police headquarters and begin battling with Diaz and his men. The group rendezvous at Helix, and Felicity begins to take a gander at the shared documents. Oliver pulls her aside and goes up against her about going through a firefight at police headquarters. Curtis is back at Helix to assist Felicity with unscrambling the documents. Dinah persuades him to return and rest with Nick. Casamento is attempting to guarantee her guiltiness with Diaz and Anatoly. She's attempting to reveal to him how wild he is, at the point at which his programmer rushes in and tells the gathering he believes he's ready to get an area on Felicity. Diaz wounds Casamento in the throat, murdering her. Diggle and Oliver are making up for lost time. Diggle has to go persuading Oliver that Felicity made the best choice. An alarm begins going off. Diaz has shown up at Helix with a little armed force. He tells his warriors that Oliver Queen doesn't make it out alive. Diaz begins propelling nerve gas into the shelter, and Oliver trains Team Arrow to leave. Felicity won't go until the documents are finished unscrambling. Oliver chooses to remain behind with her. The group begins battling Diaz's men. Oliver Longman persuades Felicity to leave the fortification, saying they'll discover another project of Diaz other than decoding the documents. The two are leaving the dugout when they're halted by Diaz. After a fast battle, Oliver utilizes the hazardous to take Diaz out. He Felicity depart and get together with the remainder of Team Arrow outside. Group Arrow takes cover at Argus. While uncovers Argus legal sciences group couldn't recuperate Diaz's body, he had the option to get away. Oliver and Felicity called William and talked with him at peace to cause him to feel better. At the police headquarters, Diaz and Anatoly assemble a conference with the remainder of the Quadrant individuals. He advises them regarding Casaminto's passing and requests their devotion. Oliver goes to Professor Sharp's office and requests her assistance against Diaz. In return for her assistance, Oliver confesses to being the Green Arrow. Dun dun dun. So let's take a look at some trivia surrounding this episode. This episode marks the sixth penultimate episode to be named after Bruce Springsteen's song. Felicity mentions the time she was on the field in the previous seasons, when she was in Russia twice and both Keep Your Enemies Closer and Bratva, when she was in Nanda Parbat and This Is Your Sword, when she was in the Merlin Global Group Building and Darkness on the Edge of Town. This is the first penultimate episode where Willa Holland and John Barrowman do not appear as Thea Queen and Malcolm Merlin, respectively. This is the third penultimate episode not to feature both of Katie Cassidy and Paul Blackthorne, the first two being This Is Your Sword, and Lost in the Flood, respectively. This is the first penultimate episode in which both of them are absent. This episode was the final appearance of Kathleen Gaddy, as she didn't appear for the duration of the series. So far, I think this episode is pretty interesting, and yeah, I have a feeling that things are not going to go so well for Oliver in the finale, but we'll have to see about that in a bit as we take a look at the final episode of the season, Life Sentence. So until then, in the words of Oliver Queen, you have failed this city. I want to give this episode 4 heads out of 5. So yeah.